This magic moment.
Oh, darling, this life is just too doggone much fun. When you're getting real and when you're starting to feel the real zeal of life, probably for the first time in 60-something years, man, almost 70 frickin' years, man, you know. It's really, really sweet to be coming back to life, to get to that core moment where you remember it all and where it turned and where it got all twisted. Yeah, that's what we call it, Twisted Tuesday. We untwisted here on Tuesdays, here on this Coyote Medicine Show. Only on this network called Hazy, babies, you want to get it clear. The Hazy Radio Network, it holds you dear, baby, and right to its heart, man. 24/7 radio made in heaven, babies. And you want to be here, because you'll get it clear on the good old Hazy Radio Network, babies. Because Grandpa's here, too, especially, because, you know, wow. Yeah, we're little lovey-doveys. You know, we actually get 7 hours a day in now, man. We're on for the first 5 here, and then I do a replay for the last 2, man. And how about that, man? Love in motion for 7 great hours here on the Ocean of Love. Yes, indeedy, babies. A gift from heaven above. Right there in your heart, man. Above you, beyond you? I don't think so. Because we all remembered that moment when we lived in it, before we stepped away from it, you know, before it happened, whatever it was. You know, my moment I lived, you know, and I see, God, you know, my mother was taken over by an energy, you know. I mean, you know, it had something to do with the religion and the church and all that stuff. That's where it came from. But something really grabbed her back in those days, you know. I could see it plain as day, and you know, but at the same time, it was still Mama, so I was trying to please it, and it'd be in and out. I mean, she'd be there at times, you know. And finally, it just turned to the point where, you know, I just totally rejected her and everything about her, you know. I reached a moment with her when I was, maybe 16, and we were having a little chat, and I showed her exactly, you know, where her whole reality was, boing, you know, and she saw it. We connected for a moment. She had that understanding moment, and it horrified her. She put her hands over her ears and says, "Oh, Petey, don't talk to me like this." You know, I knew then that she was a lost cause, man, you know, and so I just had to turn away and go find my own way, my own mother inside of myself, you know. God, it took forever. You externalize that search tremendously, you know, and then, you know, finally you come full circle with it, and finally you just have to, you know, get up and go inside and find that moment where you took the last ride, where the death really came into you and started to make this life a living hell. Danced you right out of your paradise, man, and landed you there on the farm without a whole hell of a lot of charm. Well, I had some, thank God. But anyway, and babies, it was slavery. But a good kind of slavery. I mean, shoot, it was healthy for you. You know, you got in the great outdoors. You got to commune with the animals and the, you know, the silage and the cow shit. I mean, there's just, you know, something real about all that. And the horses and, you know, and the pigs and the chickens and the cows you had to milk and so on and so forth, man. A hell of a life, a hell of an existence, you know. But ever since that moment where you go down, you know, it's always been compensating and trying to please that mother inside of yourself that you never could please inside of this reality. Till you come to this moment when you remember that you did retain yourself. That you held that vision inside, that you held at that age of 3, given roughly. Could have been 4, could have been 2, but wherever it was, there was some moment like that came to you, you know. And we all came through. Came back into our heart and got that great start. Right now, right here in this moment of now, right here in this place of now. It's the most unified heart ever there was, but it's only because we're recognizing it. See, we were already in unity, and we are with everything you see. Remember this as you go through your day now, and you'll approach it far more creatively, you know. This is how we're undoing what's been done, you know. We caught it at just the right moment, you know, just as that wave was ready to unfurl the dark cloud, comes the brightest light and just shines it away, man. There is no dark cloud. It dissolved into the atmosphere as it rightfully should. And all of our death and depression right along with it. It's come. The moment is now. And babies, we unraveled it, and we are unraveling it. You'll be going through some pretty significant changes as this day continues underway. But just stay steady in what you already know. Just, embrace that. Live with that, because that's you. That's you in paradise. And it is unifying with every element within you. The steely cold darkness. See, that's what come flooding in on me when I hit that moment where the mother turned on me and I saw the steely cold darkness take her away, It was like, and this is where all the past life stuff come in and weighted me down so heavy. It's like an ancient enemy. Here in a little while, I'll tell you the story about the first two brothers and of a little sibling rivalry that would never go away. And the cause of it, and what really created it, and how we came to be in this form of habitation, mysteriously, when we'd never really anticipated it in this way. Quite the story, baby. But it'll be brief, you know how Grandpa is. I go on, but I can be brief too, He's a seasoned veteran, don't you know, a veteran of the heart. And see, when I saw that steely coldness, the shock was so strong in my soul because suddenly I remembered all of it from the ancient past forward. You know what I mean? All that steely coldness. And I knew what it was. And my brother, my other half, that I could never quite made up with. I could never quite heal the ancient division between us, the wound. Until I saw what happened to my mother in this lifetime. And then I understood that moment in the many lifetimes of long ago. And then I started to remember how we'd sweetened the honey trap, for real, and became victims of a different kind of love, in a sense. But because of our innocence, retained it through all these generations of death and mayhem. I mean the purity. The same vision we're bringing back into being now, the one person. That 3-year-old that lives in paradise, man. That's actually a grown adult person in an angelic presence that's inside of the human form that is joined completely with the universal heart in great oneness, and that steely cold darkness, like the dark cloud, dissolving away. And you'll see huge change in this reality because a few people are able to approach it in this way, on this level. That dissolves it pretty much worldwide, you see, because you hold that energy. What I got slammed with when I came in as a kid in that moment, that I went down so hard, that was all of the ancient history of this darkness, as we call it, the steely little cold brother of mine, that got lost so long ago, which symbolizes in humanity what really happened way before there was time. When two energies somehow found a state they called disagreement, never even knew such a thing could exist because everything had been uniform and in divine harmony before that. We'll talk about these times, which weren't times at all. They were energies in motion. A little waveriness we built into the old reality we were living in, man. You got to remember, we are the creative essence. What we feel is what becomes real. And what we imagine ourselves to feel, we can imagine into being real too. I mean, babies, it goes both ways. But it's one heart in motion. Oh, yeah, I think, darlings, our love is more than alive today as we approach the great sunrise in this innocent sort of way from inside our leather little hide, babies. Oh, it's not so leathery now, is it, man? I bet you if I touched you now, it'd be smooth as silk, babies. Because I feel you coming back to life inside, just like I am. The grave has lost its heaviness, The rock has found its role, you see. The rock was was the heaviness, the downer side, where we found the coldness and were shocked out of our existence because of it, That's the rock. Well, what's the roll? That's that little part of your soul that you retained that was consciously aware that it was divinely entertained by all of this. That it was here, that little kid was happy. He was still shaking his little you-know-what in the wind and not worrying about it. Because, man, everybody else was here free. Why shouldn't he be, you see? Or she, as the case may be, And then along comes Mary. You see? Now, in my life, Mary came to me in a variety of ways, After you have that downer moment, and in my case, kind of in more or less lost my mother to a greater cause. A colder one for damn sure, poor girl. Oh, I love her so much, man. I never mean to disparage my mother whatsoever, but I see with real eyes what happens. I know the life we've lived, but I can also understand it now from that more poetically comedic sort of way, the coyote way, the medicine that's really in the life, and why we have the rock and the roll, babies. Because they kind of go together. Without one, even if you just have rock, then you don't got roll. And don't got roll, you don't got soul. Don't got soul, you ain't got heart, see? It all goes together quite naturally, the same as water falls from the sky and, becomes little rivulets and then a little stream and a creek and a river and a mighty ocean, man. I mean, and creates life all about itself as it does so. Performed, put into performance by it. The winds of magic, the winds of love, the spirit winds of life. That perform all of it, man. You start to flow with that kind of weather, babies, in creation. It's every bit as flexible and flowing in the same way as our weather is. And it can get out of hand and there can be storms and so forth. We're bringing a great calming now to the land, weather-wise and otherwise. Because, see, inside of us, we allow this calming to be. We allow this to be our unraveling in the divine mystery, and we accept really our place in the divine history because this is what we've been here living, man. This is the life we've been given, and, baby, we've done the best we could with all of them. And some of them, we fell flat on our faces, man, and died in disgraces, and others, man, we were risen up far higher than we ever deserved to be, and everything in between. And, we've all experienced it one way or another. Most have lived it. But, some are a little less seasoned than others, and so they've vicariously lived it. They live it with you right now. There's been plenty of beings living with you in this present moment, going through what you're consciously going through, etc. This is not an individual life whatsoever. It's performed in that way, and sometimes, you can feel pretty God-blessed separate. When that mother love gets turned off one way or another, that's the separation. That's the real separation from the reality, of paradise. Right there in that moment. And see, and then we spend the rest of our lives trying to recover that love, trying to recover that life. Not realizing that we've retained that life with us too. Notice how we stay happily entertained by the life. No matter how depressing or moronic it may get. And mostly it's just stupid. Most of the shit we go through is just stupid. Our activities and everybody else's is just plain lame. In some ways it don't make sense at all. In other ways, well, it fulfills the divine purpose of achieving us to get through time and giving us a few basketballs to play with in the meantime, giving us something to do, in other words. Go shoot a few hoops, kids. Now, come on, stay entertained while you're here, Learn your lessons and then learn them well and retain them strongly because, babies, that's what you're here for. This is the seasoning that makes life really taste good, that really makes it enjoyable. You want to rock, you got to roll into the rock and then become the rock and the roll. That's the music of your soul arising, babies. And in that heart, you're a thriving. Believe you me. Babies, we just set you free. Once again here, in the unraveling of that divine mystery. And this little bitty mystery itself, this old Coyote Medicine Show with Grandpa Coyote. Where the hell did you get in the flow? Right here, don't you know? On this radio network called Hazy, babies. We're here to help you get it clear. You betcha. And share it. Far and wide, 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky. We radiate it out, and guess what? It catches on the pyramids of life and amplifies and radiates itself outward. Babies, we're living in a magical world filled with free forms of expression. Free forms of expression. I use emphasis on that word for some reason or another. I don't know why. Don't you think we all flow in the same direction at the same time? Don't you think we all know that we're here in some way to fulfill our divine purpose in each and every life, often and always, I would say, always and consistently in service to one another, but often in sacrificial ways, or what could be considered that. But look at the sacrifice we're making right now. What are we sacrificing? The lust, the greed, the insanity that's gone on for so long here, and all the bloodletting that's gone with it, all the bullshit. I mean, it's been nuttier than a damn fruitcake, you know? But just remember, you know, you're here to re-experience all of that in a new way, to feel in the moment purity in all things, because remember, we've retained that innocent child that lives in paradise, and there everything is in love with everything else because it's in love with itself and fulfills its purpose in itself because it loves doing so. Love, 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 love. Triads everywhere, quadrupling of the pyramidic structures too, and the great spheres that arise from the pyramids, the spheres of energy, the etheric that becomes the reality, the truthful way. You see, the veils are dissolving from within you. And you know, some of you, you're going to have to encourage your friends because they won't know what the hell's going on just yet. The bottom's fallen out from under this reality. You know, the substance of it's been taken away. We're reforming it, so you're going to feel kind of in a plasmic state for a little bit, like you've dissolved down into plasma, but you'll see yourself still, you know, formed as a human being and so forth. But it's going to feel a little unusual as we get used to the real flow of life. You know, we've seen the indications of what we call intuitive natures and so forth. The flow is something more. You know, we're kind of reestablishing within ourselves now as a conscious presence, you see. Because really it's been absent from us for a long time. You know, when the darkness and the depression hit, it took it away pretty thoroughly for quite some time, yet it always existed. We lived it every moment that we lived. So that was just a divine deception. A joke we played on ourselves, harsh and cruel as it may be. But it's not really. Again, without the seasoning, you can't have the spice of life. It takes a little seasoning, you know. It takes a little going through the grit, you know, understanding and appreciating the smell of shit and everything else that goes with it. I mean, it doesn't mean you got to go out and call it perfume and dab yourself with it. Not at all. But just knowing that you can endure the worst of it, the stinkiest of things, and come forward out of it alive, and not only that, beautiful, stunningly so, amazingly so, and so filled with the resilience, the brilliance of the resilient life you've lived. All of them put together now in this moment of time. That's why we accept the weight in our early days, the weight of all those lifetimes, because we knew that we could unweight them in this lifetime. And that was what we would spend most of our time doing, no matter what it seemed like we were doing in this reality. We were really just unraveling the past, letting go of all that bullshit at last by seeing through the pretense under which we live. When I say pretense, what's that? A world that seemed dark and deadly, where there was coldness. Do you think we could really even conceive of such a thing? You know, yet we live in it in kind of a dreamy sort of way. And you can go to the Antarctic or the Arctic and certainly feel some cold. At least you used to could anyway. See, all of these illusions are dissolving away. You know, the fixed nature of this reality exists no more. That's the superficial part. You know, and that whole structure that kept the fixed reality in place, that's a superficial part too. And it's unraveling even as we speak. First inside of you and me too, and then in this outer reality, don't you see? It's already dissolving away. You know, the intentions that have been fueling the fires of those that were insanely jealous of life, etc., has been pretty much quenched, you know, by the reality of the pure flame of the heart. arising in, yeah, but a few, but in the many too, because the few are the many. One is all, and all is one. When you're alone, you're one with everything. That's why I encourage you to spend this time to get yourself together, to understand and live this life the way we are right in this moment, to be complete within it, or as close to it as you can get right now, babies, I tell you, because it gets better from here. It's just another humble beginning, but what a righteous place to be. You realize how many generations have passed, gone under, because they could not accomplish or achieve this moment that we are living in now? And it's not so much an achievement as it is a step in natural progression. It's just time for humanity to reawaken and be. That's all there is to it. It's a loving thing. The whole thing was a loving way. What a divine form of education. You see, there are no limits here. And we've learned in the womb then, from the absence of love, to always be in the presence of the love and never feel the absence again. You know, not to even know such an impure thing, because it can never be. Because in the truthful heart, the mother's love is the source of creation, and you can never depart from it. That's the message of the navel and the little titties that we all wear. You can never depart from the mother's energy. You're an extension of her love from the word go. Well, that's the Father in her too, of course. It's the steadiness in the love. It's even the purity, but so is she. I mean, they're one. They have different elements and aspects within themselves, but they are not a dual or split personality in any way. They move in uniform harmony. If one shakes the right hand, the other shakes the left. Understand? You know what I mean? It's just they work divinely, intrinsically together in complete union and harmony, as if they are one person expressed into the one heart, making them three. You see, that's where the synchronicity is, in the one heart of creation. Now that conception moves forward from those original two and touches me and touches you and all the rest of this reality, and sets us free. Free to be that which we truthfully are. For we have dealt with the darkness, the coldness, the unusual nature of cruelty in this reality. And we set ourselves free from that, indeedy. Enough. Now we move on. We are birthed of the mother's womb, the mother's heart, given in the Father's love so pure, brought forward from the earth reality into the expansions and extensions of all of creation. Trustworthy in every regard, because we have finally found our heart. We have tested it thoroughly here, stretched it beyond belief, to the point where it should have discorporated many, many, many generations ago, and it hasn't done so. It's retained itself throughout. Even in dark moments such as what I've described today, in my own personal history, even in dark moments like that, this energy of love, this nurturing love, this active love, this pure love has never, ever been absent from us. It seems so, but it never has. And you look at it now, you understand what I mean. You see the flow that it's kept you in motion despite some really desperate and aggravating circumstances in your life. Some really harsh energies and issues and people to deal with. Some really ugly bullshit. But just remember, that's what it is. Bullshit. An extension of our love in a nightmarish dream, an education of the heart beyond belief. A maturing inside of the womb of love, the mothership of love. The earth ship and the universe around her, this is all the mothership. And we are at the very heart of her very elemental heart's in motion. Each and every one of us, divinely so, divinely present in our ever-loving heart. Come to do what we're doing quite naturally now, to set one another free. Yeah, exactly, babies. Here we are, sunrise in the heart, completed now. The merging of all realities begins. Warp factor 18,000 and then some, babies. There are no warp factors anymore, because there is no distance. The separation dissolves away now, and the true feeling and reality of oneness comes into play. Don't be afraid or frightened when you see this reality dissolving away. See what it's dissolving into, and you'll be reassured. Never turn away from the love, the gracious love that awakens and brings you back home to the heart of love. Of course you wouldn't, could you? You can't. This love is irrefutable, irresistible, because it is you calling yourself back to your own reality. Wow, babies. What a nice little wave we're riding this morning, eh, surfers? Oh, Grandpa loves you so much here on this hazy radio network. Just letting it flow today, baby.
This magic moment